Welcome back to the Best Seat in the House podcast. Guys, it's been almost 2 years of this podcast, and I only have 5 episodes out, which is kind of crazy to me. When I first started this thing, I didn't realize how much work it would actually be to like kind of keep it consistent. But I just got back home from the holidays, and I just feel super inspired, super motivated to try to make this the best thing that it possibly can. And so with it being the brand new year, I've made some decisions to try to figure out my workflow and to get more episodes out consistently. So first off, I'm going to be producing this podcast on my own. I've already kind of experimented with a few episodes so far. And the quality isn't exactly where I'd want it to be, but it's going to allow me to be a little bit more consistent with posting episodes and sitting down with drummers and getting more of these conversations out to you guys. So with that being said, I'm going to be producing this podcast and doing everything on my own instead of going into a studio, which has been super, super great, super convenient. It's just a little too expensive for me to be able to afford consistently. So I've also decided going forward, I'm going to be posting the video portion of the podcast. All the videos are going to be on YouTube. So I just created a YouTube channel. It's called BSTH Podcast, and it's on YouTube. You can just search it up, BSTH Podcast. And I'm currently posting all of the episodes, and by all I mean like the 5 that I have so far. But I'm going to be posting all of the episodes I have so far on the YouTube channel. And hopefully start gaining more subscribers. So if you're listening and you want to watch the episodes, you can go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, so that way you can be informed when new episodes are released. And currently I have videos on Spotify and then Apple Podcasts. So I'm still going to be posting on there, but I'm only going to be posting the audio portion of the podcast on those for you guys to listen while you're in the car and stuff. So audio for Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and then YouTube for the video version of these podcasts. So I'm also kind of switching up a few other things. My social medias and Spotify and Apple Podcasts, all that are going to be BSTH Podcast instead of Best Seat in the House Podcast. I find that it's just a little bit easier to find the podcast because there's a few other shows and stuff with a very similar name. So BSTH Podcasts on anywhere that you can stream your podcasts. And then for the Instagram, instead of Best Seat Podcast, I think is where it was at before, it's now going to be BSTH Podcast. So go check that out. If you're not following, please go follow, go to YouTube and subscribe. And with that being said, first episode of 2025. I'm super excited about this one. We're sitting down with my buddy Daniel Jones, who is a killer drummer here in Nashville. But he has a great heart. He's a great friend. He's super genuine, down to earth, one of the hardest working people you'll ever meet. Also one of the most genuine and nicest people that you'll ever meet. And everyone loves this guy. Like if you meet him, you'll love him. If you don't know him, then you're going to love him after this episode. So we sat down like 2 years ago. This is kind of an old episode that I'm just now posting. But I wanted it to be the first episode of 2025 for a reason, just because of everything that he talks about. He talks about like the harshness and the realities of being on the road and the tolls that it can take on you mentally and physically, and a few of the things that he personally battled on the road in his professional career and in his personal life. And so I'm just so honored that he was able to be transparent and felt comfortable enough to have these conversations with me, and that he was comfortable enough knowing that they were going to be made to the public for you guys to listen to. And in that, it's encouraged me and helped me better understand some of the things that I've kind of gone through in my own life. And he was just such an encouragement throughout this episode. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear. A few things have changed since we recorded this. He is now currently playing for Ren Collective, which they're just a killer band in the CCM market, and he just crushes with those guys, and he plays with so many other people as well. But that's what he's mainly doing right now. So yeah, I'm really excited for you guys to hear this episode. And without further ado, here is my episode with Daniel Jones. The best seat in the house is my perspective of the industry, whether I'm on the stage or off the stage.
You just need to be diligent in making sure you're practicing.
Yes, sir.
And investing in yourself.
A David Whitworth song from Bethel is different than a Joe Volk song from Bethel. That's different than a Dan McMurray song from Hillsong. That's different than a Simon Kobler song from Hillsong United. The list goes on.
It just boils down to being a good human. That will open up doors, but not only give you the gig, but like give you true friendships.
Hey, Daniel.
What's up, dude?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Chilling.
What you been up to?
I had work today. My wife and I moved from a house to an apartment. So those boxes everywhere. What else? Just that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Are we cutting, Tom? Oh, okay, cool. No, you're good. I thought I heard him say 1 second. I just want to be sure.
Actually, I hope that you keep this because that was hilarious. Like, are we cutting
I
time?
might. Hey, just let people.
And you heard.
No,
It was great.
We'll let people know.
You're still rolling though, so take it away.
I might just keep it in there
think
because
that's
it makes it more natural. This is what happens.
Yeah. This is how you podcast, everyone.
So you guys just moved,
Just moved.
and it's been hectic.
A little bit, just because, think back to when you were like a teen or college teen in very, very young 20s. You don't have a lot of responsibilities.
Mm.
If you're in college, you go to class and you hang out with your friends, you homework. That's it. Young adult, same thing. You go to a job, and then the older you get, the more responsibilities you have.
Yeah.
Thus making horrible things like moving harder than it should be.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Did you guys have help?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
My old next door neighbor, Scott, who's an absolute legend, helped us move. And then my wife's dad flew in from Florida. He
No
helped.
way.
Then so my wife's dad and mom are both like, one's a great, like cleans tons of homes in the Nashville area for like rich people and crushes it. So she came and helped us make sure the house was ready to go. And then her dad is basically a general contractor.
Yeah.
And painter and can do all things house. So between the two of them, the house looked literally brand new, which was sick.
What?
So it's like just trying to get that security deposit feel. You know what I'm saying?
That helped out a lot, dude. That's one thing I hate. Like when you're renting, they're so strict about a lot of
So
things.
strict.
And I will
And
go.
I get it.
Yeah, but I'll go down the checklist.
Yeah.
And do what is required and still not get my deposit back.
That do be happening.
Yeah, and it's so annoying.
We'll see what happens. I think my
Haven't been cleared yet, but
exactly.
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. We'll
Yeah.
see. But yeah, so that's stressful. Just like, man, there's literally a trillion things that need to get done besides like moving from point A to point B. But we're thankful. Like, it's a great spot. It's nice and quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Sweet.
awesome.
So how long have you been in Nashville?
It's been 6 years. It'll be 7 years in May.
Were you married when you moved here, or did you meet your wife?
I met my wife when I
Here.
moved here.
Okay.
She came from Florida. So
Where'd you come from?
Virginia originally. And then I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I went to college.
Okay.
So I lived in Tulsa for 6 years.
Okay.
And then grew up in Virginia and went to Tulsa for 6 years and then moved here
Okay.
6 years ago.
Wow. And why'd you move to Nashville specifically? I ask everyone that.
I
But
love that. Here's the not cool, but and it sounds very overly spiritual, but I don't mean it to come off that way. I felt and I felt like I heard that I essentially needed to move here to just love on people.
Really?
Yeah. And like
Dude, that is
the
awesome.
thing I heard was go and make disciples, which I went,
That is
what does that mean?
so
dog?
cool.
And that was the selling point. Not to put it in binary numbers of buying and selling, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not that, but like that was the. Oh yeah, so it has nothing to do with music. It had nothing to do with music. I felt like it was an assignment of like just go and love people well,
Wow.
which is really freaking hard.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, Nashville needs it.
I need it. I need to
Yeah.
be shepherded and discipled. So I don't know
Yeah.
what that means. I still don't 6 years later.
Yeah.
But and in the same conversation that I felt like I was having, and I really believe I had with the Lord, it was just like, yeah, music works out great. It's not the goal.
Dude,
just
that's
go and
awesome.
like be with people and love them and make disciples. I was like,
Incredible.
I don't know what that means, dog.
I feel that. And I was not expecting that answer. This is only our second time
Yeah, for
really
real.
hanging out.
Yeah.
And so most times people, whether it's on this podcast or people that I meet
Yeah.
here in town, I ask them already kind of knowing somewhat of the answer, what brought you to town? And
Yeah,
some guys,
100%.
everyone's like music, drumming,
Yeah,
playing. Some people already had a gig lined up. Some
Yeah.
people just moved with faith.
which is awesome.
But you are like within this podcast and outside of this podcast, I think you're the first person that's really told me just not music, like
Yeah.
just loving on people, which
Yeah.
is huge, because I think that's a testament to your faith and like everything that it took for you to believe, like, okay, I don't know what it's gonna look like. I don't know, like you said, whether it works out with music or not. Like,
Yeah.
I'm content and I'm happy, and that's super important. And you've been able to do so many incredible and really cool things
Mm.
since moving,
I guess.
in my opinion. In my opinion,
That's kind. Yeah, I get.
Daniel's gonna be really humble here, and I'm gonna just toot his own horn for
Yikes.
him because he won't.
Don't do it.
But you've done really cool things. Like you've played with For King and Country.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how long was that for? How did that even come about?
Oh man.
Just that story.
Yeah, it's kind of a long one, so I'll try not to convolute it. And let me also say, I did want to play music when I moved here.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
That it's not wasn't like I don't want to do music at all. Like I did
Right.
did want to, but the main draw had nothing to do with
Okay.
music. Just to over clarify.
Which is still huge to be okay with. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yes, that was really hard, which plays into this For King moment. So I was with them for 3 years. How it happened leading up to that moment happening, I was about a year into Nashville. So this is 2017. In 2016, when I moved here, I found really good favor with people and was playing with different artists, indie pop artists, and I was a drummer out of a studio in Franklin. Those guys are still my dogs. And things were looking really good, and I was really feeling myself.
Yeah.
I kind of feel how Geno Smith feels right now, which is well deserved because Geno is literally smoking everyone. He has a better stat line than Russell Wilson, and I'm kind of here for it. And I love Russell, but
It's been like 8 minutes and already a football reference. I was wondering how long it was going to take before you made a reference like that.
I'm addicted. I really am. It's Monday Night Football too, so we'll
Yeah.
get there. But I was really feeling myself. I really was. And 2017 starts, and I feel like the bottom like kind of fell off, and I feel like I got the wind taken out of my sails a bit.
Yeah.
And man, I started, I would say, going back to old patterns, but the patterns I've always had. If I'm into something, I work really hard. Like practice, not even at the time. If I'm good at something, I'm going to do it. If I don't like it, I think it doesn't serve me, or it is not anything I want to do, I won't do it.
Yeah.
I really became aware of that during the season. It's like, I call it the 10 months of free fall. I just was floating from here to there, not really making any money, borrowing money, but not paying it back, complaining, wondering where my gig was, all literally the opposite of what I felt like the Lord told me a year before.
Yeah.
I got caught up in the thing, got
Yeah.
caught up in the swirl of it. So 10 months of that, and then I need to shout out David Leonard, because he has been and is still like my big brother. And he called me one time. I was actually on a show, at a show. I was in Canada, and my account overdrafted for the trillionth time. I was so freaking pissed. So I complained. I texted this group of guys. I'm like, "Yo, pray for me. Like, I can't do this."
Yeah.
He David calls me and goes, "Hey, bub." He's from Arkansas. Has that nice Arkansas drawl. "Hey, bub, what's going on?"
Oh,
And I'm like, blah, 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 I tell his things. This is how I'm feeling. I'm saying the thing.
yeah,
And he goes, and he proceeds to lay into me of like, if you need money, go get a job. Your drums haven't been that good for a minute. You're slipping. You need to pay back the people that you owe money to. The list goes on.
yeah,
All in love. It wasn't like
yeah.
you
Tough
rotten
love.
dirt. Yeah, none of that. He just ate my lunch. And then I ordered more lunch and he took that and ate it again.
Which is what big bros do.
They do.
You
man.
needed it.
It actually dramatically shifted my life. And I don't think I'd be here if he didn't have that conversation.
Man.
So I got some accountability. I stopped hanging out with people and I got a job at a coffee shop. And I tried to practice 3 hours a day. I probably got 2.5, 3 or 4 some days. That's all I did. And I would hang on the weekends. And I really invested in the people, time in the people who invested into me. So during this time where I'm just head down, that's when I meet my wife. She and I become friends. That's also when For King happens. So I've been going to this church at that same time. This whole time I've been in Nashville. I've been going to this one church called Journey Church, which is an incredible space out in Brentwood. Used to be in Franklin. Now it's in Brentwood, Tennessee. And Joel Smallbone and his wife have been going to Journey forever. Now, I didn't know who Joel was because I did not listen to Christian music. I listened to worship music.
Right. Yeah.
So I was just like, who's this tall, like, good-looking guy coming to talk to me after church? Like, I don't, like, that makes me very uncomfortable. And what's his accent? I don't understand what's happening.
Where's this coming from?
Where's this happening? And he would over that year, even before my, like, meltdown of 2017, he'd always affirm me of like, dude, what you bring to this space when you play in church is really special, and thank you. I'm like, thanks, dude. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I didn't know what his job was.
Yeah.
So it keeps happening. And then that happens during my like dark night of the soul of, no money and no girls and whatever, the whole thing, no money and all that stuff. That keeps, and me honestly feeling very far from the Lord. He keeps affirming. The Lord is using Joel to like affirm me.
Wow.
When I've just been playing at church. That was my only outlet, which is not why I played, but that was the only spot where I felt close to the divine, which is a good thing and can be a bad thing because then you get hooked on that of like, well, I only feel the Lord and only hear the Lord when I'm playing, which is a mistake. But at that point, that's what was happening. So that's it feels like a year of that. And I don't even remember the timeline. But David, the same guy who ate my lunch, texts me or calls me and goes, "Hey, Joel just called me about you." And I went, "Joel who?" Because I wasn't thinking. I was like, I have a buddy, Joel, who lives in Nashville. Like, I just play with him now. It's not a big deal. He goes, "No, Joel Smallbone for King. He's gonna give you a call." I was like, okay. Then he goes, "Hey, our drummer, Timmy Jones, was the drummer at the time, who was a legend. Golly, one of the best drummers I've ever heard. Still." He goes, "Timmy can't make this show. Can you fill in?" And I was like, "Sure." And then I realized that like I've known him for a year, but I don't know anything about him. Like we haven't hung except like in church, like post service.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know this dude. I heard he was related to Rebecca St. James, but I don't know. I don't know anything. So I was like, dude, let's hang before bus call. He's like, great. So we go to Frothy Monkey, downtown Franklin. We swap stories. He tells me how his family went from Australia to here, and that's a wild story. Truly miraculous. I share my story, being from Virginia, going to Tulsa for school, coming here, and then the last 10 months, because we're in October now, and how crazy it's been and how I really reshifted my life and all this stuff. And he was just like, well, it's impressive. It's good to, all that stuff, nice things. And he goes, okay, so Timmy, the drummer, and us, we've decided to part ways. So this show just isn't, it's not just a fill-in, it's like audition. And I went, what? Wow. He's like, yeah. So I tell you that for a couple reasons, but the main reason is that, like you just know what this could be. And I'm like, all right.
At this point, did you know who For King and Country was, or who?
I gathered by that point. I've gathered who they were because I've asked him, and I would see him at shows that I was playing with other people, and so I figured it out. So, yeah, that started 3-month audition process, just playing shows. And how For King does it is trial by fire. They kind of just throw you in, and you get to figure out if you can swim. Which is honestly how I learned best. But I learned that best because of them. Like, so it's like, first show went well. They're like, let's do a full band show in a couple of weeks. I was like, okay. Full band show went fine. They're like, hey, you want to do this week of shows in October? Like, it was during my birthday. I was turning 25. I was like, sure. Then after that, they're like, want to come to Europe? It's like, sure. Went to Europe for the first time.
So cool.
Then they're like, okay, we have a Crowns tour. That's when I found my bunk in the, back,
what you're
back,
talking.
yeah, in the top bunk, in the back driver's side. That all happened in a blink of an eye.
Yeah,
it was insane.
Super quick.
And that was just drums. But man, I'm I'm very loose when I play, and my posture's bad, and it's just how I play. Because I'm in it and I'm feeling it. I'm trying to like feel the music, but dude, for Kings of Pop show, it's got to be on it. And I worked really hard to make it. I put in extra time to make it work, and it got better. But when they brought Teddy on, that was the best decision for the band. And then I had a choice to make of like, and Luke, I remember Luke calling me. He goes, "This is what we're gonna do, but we want to honor you because you've been auditioning this whole time on drums. Like you can go and play for other people, and I get it. Or you can kind of see what happens with this." And I was just going to play aux everything. And I knew what I needed to do because it was going to be the harder road and the less ego road. So I stayed, and Teddy becomes a big brother and still is. And I played aux drums, and I played keys, and I played bass, and I played Moog, and I ran around stage wearing crazy warm costumes in the middle of June in Ohio. And I did the thing, and I cried a lot, and I got mad a lot, and I felt alone, and I felt isolated, and I felt loved, and I felt accepted, and then every range of emotion for those 3 years. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Dude, that is incredible. I didn't know most of that to that extent. Like, I didn't even know you played bass.
I still don't, but I can play worship bass.
He does it all, guys. He does it all.
Listen, whole notes and half notes we can do. In quarters, we can do those.
Did you find it pretty challenging to your ego, so to speak, to accept the aux position instead of playing drums?
Yeah, it crushed me.
Yeah.
It was at the time, because life has been way harder since.
Yeah.
But at the time, at 25, going to 26, was the hardest thing I've ever been through. I mean, like I come from a town where I did very well in Virginia Beach, and I'm very thankful for it. And a lot of sweet people over there, and I made a mini name for myself, 14, 17, whatever. Moved to Tulsa, same thing happens. And I start to think and believe that I do have, like, I'm special. And this proved pretty quickly that I'm not. I'm unique and I'm wonderfully made. I'm not special. I'm a guy who can play some instruments and give thanks for it and keep moving. That was really hard. It's a really hard lesson. And it is a hard lesson to learn. Yeah. Still.
But it was needed.
Not very necessary.
Yeah.
And it's taken a lot of time not to get jaded from it.
Yeah.
Because it's not dude, they got to go with the guy who does the job better.
Yeah.
And people are always like, "No, dude, but you're so good." I go, "Yeah, I'm good, but not in this. This is not mine." Well, it's not ours anyway, period. Right. If you have the gig or not, it's not yours. It's a gift. It's like songwriters. They're given the song. It's not theirs.
Which a lot of people probably didn't know that until just now, so.
I don't know.
It's the reality of it, guys.
I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've seen in my limited scope of life.
I agree. And I didn't know that until I moved here, and it blew my mind, and I was like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, literally. It's just like, it's a gift, and they go, "Oh, here it is."
Exactly.
So, yeah, same way with playing shows, and I don't know.
So, how I feel like anyone that's listening to this might be going through a similar season, whether it's with being the number one rotation drummer at their home church or a gig that they're, currently on. What did you do to keep yourself from becoming jaded towards management, towards the guys, towards, the new drummer? Like, what did you have to do within yourself to prevent any bad blood?
Yeah. I don't know if I always did a good job. I think sometimes I didn't. I think sometimes I let, because I can't hide anything on my face. So people knew I was upset, but it had nothing to do with the position. I actually was fine with that. It was other things.
Okay.
But sometimes I felt like I did a good job. Sometimes I didn't. I think the times where I felt like I did a good job is quietly by myself or with, now she's my wife now, but my girlfriend at the time, because she saw it all too. She'd come on the road and she would see things. She's like, "What is happening?" And I
Like things with you?
yeah, things with me,
okay.
things with me, things with the environment.
Yeah. Okay.
It just wasn't my environment, which is why I ended up leaving. It's like, I love, like Joel and Luke, like I'm still their biggest fan. The environment just wasn't for me, which is hard. It's a hard thing to like associate and disassociate, and not like turn off a valve and whatever. So I'm realizing that as I'm trying to not be bitter. So I just tried to. I talked to other band members about it too, like try to just to bless and still be honest with safe people. I had people I was safe with. They would have let all my this is how I feel.
Yeah.
And still at the end of the day, like bless them. Whether that's management at one point, because management will get it wrong.
Yeah.
Bless the artist because they'll get it wrong too,
Yeah.
or your other bandmates and the crew, because they'll get it wrong too, just like I have. And that was really hard. Even when I left, that was hard. I had to be like, yeah, like what does it mean to bless them? And speech, and not just and speak the truth to the appropriate people, because not everyone needs to know your business. Because people would ask, like, so what really happened? I'm like, it's time for me to go.
Yeah.
Like that. There's nothing more than that. So yeah, that's what I tried to do.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I did a good job, and other times I really let my raw emotions take over. Not like in an appropriate way, but I just I could have handled that a lot better.
Yeah,
I didn't have to be petty.
Yeah.
I could have been.
Especially when you're spending every day with the same people on a bus in a really tight space, and you can't really get away.
Yeah.
Some days are definitely worse than others.
Definitely. And I said this as I said this to a lot of the band guys individually, and I was just like, because I was extremely green when I started, so I was just like wide-eyed, mystified, never been on a bus, never ridden on a bus. It was all very emotional for me. And I love the emotion of that, and I'm thankful for it.
Yeah.
But I was so green, and I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And they did a really good job to the best of their ability, because again, they're humans. They got it wrong too some of the time. But man, they were really patient. They were really patient with me, because they could have been like, get this sucker out of here.
Yeah, let's bring a vet in and not have to deal with
Absolutely.
all of the...
And man, honestly, those conversations might have even happened where they've been like, dude, you got to get this kid out of here.
Yeah.
I don't know. And honestly, I used to want to know. I used to care because I wanted the people to like me. And
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I was able to show up to work, and then but even by the time I left, there was a lot of mutual respect.
Yeah.
And I really respect them for that, because they had every right to be like, from the jump, going, nah, So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. No, dude. Thank you.
Yes
that
and
was,
no.
That
I
was
tried, and then I didn't.
Great answer. So you were 3 years?
3 years.
3 years. So in that span,
Yeah.
that's a good amount of time.
Oh man.
3 years. So what for anyone that might be wanting to be on the road, everything I'm talking to you about right now, you have no idea. Like, I didn't send you anything to prep for.
Zero.
This is spontaneous.
Yeah.
So what are, let's say, like 3 touring tips? Because you were green when you first started.
Very
so
green.
if someone's going into, whether it's a full bus situation or their first time touring at all, and they're in a 16 passenger van
Yeah.
pulling a trailer.
Real touring.
Yeah, real touring. What are 3 of your best tips you could give somebody that is gonna tour or wants to eventually tour to maybe prevent them from making certain mistakes you made or make touring easier for them? It can be practical, it can be spiritual, it can be
Yeah.
anything that you learned or
Well, practical is bring your own pillow. It's pretty doggone nice, man. Your own pillow. That changed my world.
yeah.
To stay on the appliances, like bring your own pillow. I had a fan one time. All that stuff to make it feel however you want your home to feel like when you fall asleep.
Yep.
Do that
Yeah.
in the bus.
Which I think is huge. I don't even bring my own pillow, but I'm going to because you don't have your own bed. You're in a bunk or you're in a bench in a van.
Yep.
So having as much of your own like stuff from home
Yeah.
is gonna be
I would
big.
bring a mug. I would bring my own
Really?
coffee mug from home because
Okay.
it made me remind me of home.
okay.
You know, I mean, even where I work now, I have 2 mugs and I cycle between both mugs because it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I live 20 minutes away, but I want that little piece of home.
The homey vibe. Yeah.
Gotta have it.
I
So
get it, I
wherever
get
that
it.
looks like healthy, because some habits gotta, not come on the bus.
Yep.
Leave those at home and work on them. But
Okay.
healthy things, bring them on. So I think that's one thing.
Okay.
Another. So my personality, it's not so much now because I've gotten a little crusty. This Nashville will do this to you. You get hit by life enough and you're just like, it's not always a bad thing, but
Yeah.
you want to have that zest for life still.
Yeah.
But I, at the time, I was 24. Again, I was just so happy to be there, man. I was elated. I remember when we played Bridgestone on the tour that I did that year. Like it was a co-headlining with Casting Crowns and Mercy Me for Casting Crowns and For King, for this tour. It was Christmas time, and we were playing at Bridgestone, and I'm walking around Bridgestone crying because that's how much emotion I have, especially had back then.
Yeah.
So with that kind of like raw, young energy and emotion, I really put that on people to be like, here's all of me immediately, instead of like, I still wear my heart on my sleeve, but I'm a little bit more guarded now.
Okay.
Because I just was like, here's all of me, please, and not only that, but please accept me. And it's like, well, I don't have. They're like, I don't have to.
Yeah. I just met you. Like this is pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, it's like I was treating them like we've been friends for a decade. It's not fair to them.
Yeah.
So it's not. Don't shut yourself off because if you can't be yourself, then you better get out.
Yeah.
But like gauge the room. Part of being, and I may be wrong on this, but I think part of being emotionally mature is to understand what room you're in, what environment you're in.
Yeah, for
Don't
sure.
pacify yourself, but just use discernment and wisdom.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to go to Catholic mass and show up with like shorts and a t-shirt and a Corona. It's just not appropriate. That does sound dope though. It's just not, but it's not appropriate for the environment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Wait until after mass.
Wait till after mass. But you know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
not bad.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. Actually, I hope he and I hang out later. He throws me a Corona. But that's not appropriate in mass,
Read the room.
Read the room. It's
Okay.
just that. That's a very extreme, wild way of. It's like just like understand what environment. They don't know you. You don't know them.
Right.
So like just be there, hang out, and go with the flow. I was not that in the beginning. It took me a couple years to get that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So read the room,
the
assess the room, and
Yeah.
decide what's appropriate and what's not with the people you're going to be spending the next 2 months on a bus with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's tip number 2,
To number 2.
Right.
Yeah.
3.
Forgot that you asked for 3. Put all my eggs in the first two baskets. Oh man, yes. Okay, thanks. Get comfortable and find time for yourself.
Ooh.
Alone time.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I had no choice, dude. These guys had wives and kids. I was single. I went from being single to married in that band, right? So I went through a lot of life change in a 3-year period.
Yeah.
These guys were married and had kids or just married. They were in a whole different stage of life than I was.
Mm.
And they wouldn't always hang, and they had each other. It's like, again, they don't know me, so they would
Yeah.
hang. I had to get really good at being like, man, I'm just going to go do me for a bit. I'm going to go to this coffee shop. I'll walk around here, and sometimes I'll join them and all that stuff. It was great. But by the end, I got into a good rhythm of like, I'll take this day and not see anybody because I needed it. And I fell in love with like taking myself to a meal or taking myself to the movies. Still to this day, like my wife asked me, I'm turning 30 this month, and she was like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to go to the woods and not see a soul. That was going to happen because I can't,
That sounds nice, though.
Sounds great.
That sounds
That was fostered on the road because, again, you're around people, the same people all the time. And then even if, like, you're on good terms with people and it's not bad.
Yeah.
Like, if it's bad, get out. Like, actually bad. Like, someone's going to, like,
Yeah.
hit you in the face because you hit a wrong note. You should probably leave.
Yeah.
But if it's even with good-natured people, it can get tense. So
Mm-hmm.
find some time to get away. And,
Yeah.
and spiritually for me, that's where, like, I got the most, like, work done.
Mm.
Like, hey, I know that you're mad at because this person didn't do blah, 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 blah. But, like, let's talk about you now.
Yeah. It's so refreshing because when you're out on the road, you're doing so much and you're around people so much that
Mhm.
I'm already an introvert. I don't know. Are you an introvert or
I
an
am.
extrovert?
I am.
You are.
I thought I was an extrovert. The road learning this actually showed me that I'm an introvert.
Really? Okay. Because I would think you're an extrovert just from meeting you and talking to you. So, but I know I'm an introvert. Like, I just love being by myself, and
Yeah.
that's how I recharge, and that's
Yeah.
that's just how I function. So being around people constantly has been a big adjustment for me.
Mm.
And finding time to be alone, to listen to podcasts or read or, like have my quiet time or just work on myself or just
Yeah.
get some peace and quiet without being in a smelly bus with a bunch of other dudes
Yeah.
who don't clean up after themselves.
Oh, yeah, that's actually the fourth bonus tip. Please mind your area. Clean it.
Yeah.
What would your mother think?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
And I've been guilty. I say this as someone who has cleaned up other people's messes and has made messes of his own.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Be mindful.
Be mindful.
Yeah. But it's so nice to just be able to get away. And I will combine that with, for me, bought an electric skateboard.
Okay.
Game changer. I used to
Yes.
skate as a teenager.
Okay.
And like I was telling you earlier, now it hurts my back to set up my kit because I just feel like I'm getting old.
That's so sad, dog. I'm sorry. Life is cruel.
I need to hear that. But so yeah, I'm so lazy that I don't even want to skate or, do a longboard manually anymore. I bought an electric skateboard. But
I get it.
it's so nice. I just get off the bus and skate to a secluded, isolated area
Yeah.
and just sit and kind of just reflect for a little bit
Yeah.
and then go back to the hustle and bustle of the rest of the day. And
love
it's
it.
so nice to be able to do that and get away.
Yeah.
Huge.
That's so valuable.
So
That's awesome.
good
Glad you're
tips.
doing that.
Good tips. What else? Oh, were you doing stuff with worship online?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that, because from my perspective, before I moved into Nashville, I was working at a church, and I was in the creative department. But I also, I was a drummer, so
Yeah.
I helped with the worship department, and convinced them to. All of our musicians were volunteer based,
Yeah.
and so none of them were really like full-time musicians or really even gigging musicians on
Yeah.
the side. They were just teachers and nurses and people that weren't musicians full-time. So we invested in worship online, and at the time it was like Austin Davis, legend.
The GOAT.
Yes, I talk about him pretty much every episode.
As you should.
Um,
Austin, we love you.
Yeah,
You're the
and
best.
the dream is to get him on it one day. So watching him, and then I noticed I don't know if he stopped or I don't know what happened, but then I started seeing you, and I didn't know you at all at the time, but I think it was really.
Nor should you.
I thought it was so cool when I met you, which was just you. We both showed up. We were the only early ones to the hang.
Yeah.
at Desano's Pizza, and we talked for like 20 minutes before the first drummer showed up 30 minutes late.
True.
And
That's exactly what.
and it clicked. I was like, wait, is this the guy that was on the Worship Online drum tutorial videos? And I was like,
Crazy.
crazy. So talk to me about that. Like, how did that come about, and what was that experience
Oh,
like?
man. Dude, that was a so funny, man. It's funny the stuff that you do that you don't think about, that other people go like, you did this. I'm like, I did? I don't know. That place was a lifeline. Monetarily, because it employed me through most of 2020 and 2021 as I was trying to figure out my life. So like Shaylin Palmer, who runs it, is a GOAT. Shaylin, thank you. So it was a lifeline in a money sense. It was a lifeline during my time in For King when I wasn't playing kit. You know, one of my oldest friends from college, she used to be on staff at Worship Online, and her goal was to hire her friends. So she had a couple friends doing a couple things like some vocals and then keys, and then David Kern on bass, who's a legend. Matt Pedestal on guitar is another legend. And she wants to hire her friends, and then Austin was. What was Austin doing? I think he just knew his time doing it was done. Like, you know, seasons.
Yeah.
You know when it's done. I think there was a Cody and Carey tour or something. He was leaving. And I did like a vlog on the SPDSX, which was comical because I hate that thing. It's a piece of junk. They just upgraded it though for the first time in like 12, 13 years.
I saw that, and for $1,200, I was like, Roland, you guys gotta.
Like, bro, gas is expensive.
You can't slap the word pro on it and expect me to pay an extra $400.
$1,300 with shipping, and I'm going. What? Granted, it is sick. You know, a lot more out. Like it's awesome.
true.
It's
Yeah,
awesome. Roland,
yeah.
you heard our cry, and I'm thankful. But dude, dog, $1,300. You must be freaking kidding me. So that's how I like started, and then they would ask, and then Austin was transitioning out, so they were like, "Can you play it?" And I was not confident in my drumming abilities at this point. I really.
Well, you just came off the For King.
Well, I've been in the middle of it.
Thing.
So this happens right in the middle.
Oh, so you're playing aux and you're not confident from
Yes, not confident from playing kit. Because the message I received was, you're not good enough to play drum kit.
But we'll let you play aux.
Yes, that's the message I received.
Yeah.
I don't believe that's actually what happened. But that's how I received the message. We all do that,
From
right?
your perspective, that's how you took it.
That's how I took it.
for
And that
sure.
was a hard thing to let go of like, no, Daddy's just the better guy
Yeah.
for this.
For sure.
I couldn't associate, no, I'm still good. Anyway, so during that period, Worship Online comes in, they're like, can you play all these songs? They like what I'm doing and like how I teach, which I'm thankful because I love to teach. And just started playing. And that there was like therapy sessions during some of those because I'm trying to learn. You have to play like a David Whitworth song from Bethel. It's different than a Joe Volk song from Bethel. That's different than a Dan McMurray song from Hillsong. That's different than a Simon Kobler song from Hillsong United. That's different than Vincent from Elevate. Like the list goes on.
But it's all modern worship.
But it's all
that
modern
we're playing
worship.
every week.
You have to, when you're doing these songs, you have to like get in those people's skin and be like, what do they do? Austin Davis has a thing. So I have to be Austin Davis. Like Joe has a thing. So I have to be Joe. Like, how does that work? How do you do that and play the parts right and teach them?
Yeah.
It's a pretty tall ordeal. It was very challenging, but it was the best thing that ever happened in my drumming.
Yeah.
I had to like, one, again, it was a lifeline because I'm like, oh, I get to play drums. The other was like, I get to learn other people's styles, figure out how to do all of this.
Made you more versatile
Mhm.
in that way.
Yeah, and that's how I taught it too, of like, hey, this is a signature like so-and-so thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not him.
Yeah.
But I'm going to play it, but like, do what you want here or whatever. So just give people freedom of like, man, this is just something because Dom Gerald's from, from Elevation. That's because he does that. That's his thing.
Yep.
So like you could take that and learn it and incorporate it or do something else. So I did that for a minute, 2019 till literally this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're not anymore,
Mm-mm,
right?
Not anymore. I don't have the time.
Okay. So what was your experience, if any, with, because that's more of an educational side,
Mhm.
you know? So what was your experience beforehand, if any, teaching lessons or doing video lessons or going to college or learning how to read music, or like what was all that like?
Oh man. Well, I was taught how to read drum music when I was a kid, like
Okay.
11, 12, 13. Went to college to be a percussion major.
Okay.
Same thing.
Yeah.
That got me more of my robotic stuff, and it got really into feel. Steve Jordan became my favorite drummer during college, which thank God. Love you, Steve. So then I was in Tulsa after I graduated college. I would teach at this really sweet little school in Tulsa.
Okay.
It's an extracurricular spot. So I was teaching there.
Okay.
So kind of always like kept that,
Yeah.
you know, teaching kids who are super small, teaching kids who are older. And
So you had experience
I did have
prior.
experience. Yeah, but not with the video
yeah.
piece and having to,
What was that like? Because you were used to having a student in front of you or something probably
Yeah.
before that.
which is way easier. Videos,
Really?
it's crazy. Yeah, because I mean,
Oh, video is harder.
Yeah, video's
okay, I
harder,
thought you were
yeah,
saying
yeah.
video was easier. I
oh no,
was-
no, no,
okay.
yeah, video's way harder. Because yeah, you have to like go back and forth.
You don't interact with anyone, so
Yeah,
I wouldn't know what to do next. 'Cause
Exactly.
Usually a kid has a question.
yeah.
And
What about this part?
Yeah.
Which is what I did to my buddies who played on all these songs. I'm literally FaceTiming Joe going, what did you do on that Let the Redeemed on Josh Baldwin's record? Because I hear it and I'm playing something wacky. So I have screenshots of different times I'm calling my friends. I'm honored to call friends. And them like Dom had his phone up and he was going, yeah, it's just, I'm like, oh, great. And then Joe, the same thing. He's in his car like, no, it's kind of like a boom, 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 boom. I'm like, oh, okay. It's so like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Insane.
Incredible.
And then I go, okay. And then Darren and his twin brother, Steven, they would run sessions. And they were like, okay, we got it. Or like, oh, we figured it out. You know, oh, it's close to what we thought.
Yeah.
Things like that. So that was a lot of fun.
Okay. Cool.
That was
Man.
good.
It's just so it's full circle to see that happening as far as from my perspective, watching people or sending video tutorials to other drummers.
That's
and then,
crazy,
you know,
dog.
3 years later I meet you in person. I'm like, oh, that's, you know, one of the drummers from Worship Online. Like,
Insane.
it's crazy.
I hope I didn't ruin any of your drummers.
No, I think a lot of them really appreciated your approach. Nothing against Austin. Austin is
Austin's the GOAT.
such a good player that a lot of things just come so natural to him that breaking it down, he breaks it down as much as he needs to because his level of breaking something down is right here. But I'm like right here, like I'm, you know, drumming for dummies. Like I need it to be the most simple form. And so you did a really good job of breaking a lot of parts down in ways that at least the drummers at my church at the time were able to comprehend and
Awesome.
really be able to come in on Sundays prepared, and it just
Oh, man.
helped our worship.
I
you
love
know,
that.
so
That was the goal. That's why Shaylin started
Yes.
it. He's like, there's no one out here helping like Joe who just plays guitar and
Yes,
Kansas,
yeah.
who has a job.
yeah,
What about him? So that's really encouraging.
yeah.
to hear
dude.
that.
So thank you so much
Oh,
for
man.
that. Thank you. So with what you do, when it comes to the snare drum, what is your favorite size snare?
6.5 by 14.
Dude, let's go. Me too.
I think that's it.
Yes.
I played that. I have a old Rogers Tom that's converted to a snare that's 10 by 14, and it rules.
Yeah.
It's just different.
Yeah.
That's more of a side snare gush thing. I can crank it and it sounds awesome, but man, anything 6.5, just freaking rips.
I agree. I feel like it's the most versatile, and I'm doing a lot of like fly dates.
Yeah.
So, you know, an extra 1.5 2 inches to go to like a 7.5 or an 8 makes a difference because it just weighing, having to
Yeah,
get my gear
wow.
under 50 pounds to
That's true.
meet Southwest, you know,
Yeah.
weight policy to
Yeah.
fly for free or fly my bags for free. Little things like that. But also like just how versatile a 6.5 is. Like I can crank it
Dude.
or I can tune it down and just it's a fat boy
Yep.
and I'm all game.
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
dude, it's my favorite.
It
um,
rules.
What in your opinion and in your experience with playing in town, or even before you moved here, what do you think are some of the most important things an artist or a band is looking for in a drummer, and what you have to bring to the table to get a gig?
Dang. Well, some things are obvious, right? Can you play in time?
Yeah.
And play in time consistently.
Mm.
That's what For King taught me of like, no, I can play in time, but I'm not consistent. One night I'm great, one night I'm not. And
Yeah.
Okay, I got to work on my consistency. Okay, so can you play in time, and are you dependable? Not just as a drummer, like, well, I trust that Jonathan will get us from the chorus to the bridge the right way that I need, but also, like, will he show up to practice on time? Early, I always say early is better than anything, but like, is your character dependable? Like, all that plays into it. So it's split. It's like the playing side, and there's the character side.
Yeah.
And both have to be both of those things are super important.
Yeah.
Because this is a very small town and people talk,
Yeah.
talk. And it's not even some of it's out of gossip, we got to check that, but some of it's just out of like, yo, this person, I really want to hire them. What do you think? You know, I mean, when Joel reached out to David about, hey, what do you think about Daniel, like, filling in and whatever? David shot him straight. He's like, he's a good kid. Here are his strengths, here are his weaknesses.
Yeah. Important.
It's very important.
Yeah.
So, like, it's happening anyway. So you might as well, like, try to both, you know, a lot of things are outside of our control.
Right.
'Cause you can still have the playing dialed and your character could be literally as close to Jesus as possible. And it still might not work out. Then you get the gig.
Yeah.
So
It happens.
Happens a lot.
But if you can kind of minimize those variables
Yes.
in any way that you can, you
Precisely.
need to do that.
100%. So if that means some cats need to practice an hour a day,
Yeah.
some cats need to practice an hour a week, and they meet that requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Others have to go to counseling a couple times a month. Some people have to go a couple times a week. Some people need to have a mentor along with that, and so whatever, like whatever it takes to get there.
Yeah.
Like, make that happen, because you know that's there's those intangibles people just see, and it's hard to explain. There's no method. There's no method to it. You just be a really good person and be freaking great at your instrument.
Yeah.
And be passionate about it.
Yeah.
You know?
I like that you said that, because I think there was, at least before I moved here and before I was able to tour at the capacity that I am right now, there was, I thought there was like an answer, and of like, what checklist do I need to make and fulfill all of these points in order to get what I want, like a touring gig or a full-time, gig opportunity. And there's no checklist written necessarily. Everyone's story is different. Everyone's path is different. Some guys move here with a job opportunity or with an incredible gig.
Yeah.
Some people are here for 2 years before they land something. Some people are here for 10 years before they land something.
Listen, I've seen people who are some of the best drummers I know have never had a consistent gig. They've been here for a very long time.
And that's scary.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. It is.
Like, and that just goes to show that, like, we don't have all the answers. We've been able to play music and make money doing it, pay our bills, which is a huge blessing.
Massive.
For sure.
Yeah.
But we can't say you need to do these 5 things and you'll be able to get to where you want. You just have to be consistent and be a good steward of the gifts that God's given you, and honor yourself and honor those around you, and just love people, and that's it. And
that's it. We have to think about you said that very well. We have to think about what's eternal, especially if we believe the story of Jesus and what he's done, and through Yahweh, what that means to live a life tethered to what Jesus has done and who he is.
Yeah.
What's eternal is not you getting on a bus in a few days. who cares?
Yeah.
It's not the point.
Yeah. That's good.
You know,
That's good.
that's really difficult because we live in a town and in a society that is like, man, you gotta get ahead. You gotta work, and you
Yeah.
gotta do this. And man, listen, life is tough. You gotta go get your paper. I get it.
Yeah.
But like, what actually matters? You know, what
Mm.
will you be remembered for? Really puts a lot of things into perspective.
Yeah.
You know, babe, I told my wife, I'm like, I got to go do this. Got to do this. It happened today. I'm like, I got to rush out of here. I got to go here. I got to figure it out. And like, I had to stop and be like, what's more important?
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's really tough for me, man. 'Cause
Yeah.
I just want to get things done
Yep.
all the time. So I had tried to keep that in mind
Mm-hmm.
often because again, it's a gift and we've been, for some stroke of luck, we get to do what we do.
Yeah.
And it's just a gift.
Yeah.
Period. You know,
For sure.
so.
And it's what we do with the gift that we've been given that, like, are we going to honor that and
Yeah.
honor the Lord, or are we going to just kind of take advantage of it and not really care
Yeah.
and just not really be intentional with what we do have,
Yeah.
you know? Because there's the guy that's on a bus struggling that wants to be on a tour bus, or
Yes.
a guy that's in a van struggling that wants to be in a tour bus. And there's
Yeah.
a guy that's on a tour bus that's struggling wanting to be on a private jet, you know, playing for Bieber or something.
Yeah.
Like,
It doesn't end.
when is it good enough? And I think it's when you understand there's more to it than what we're doing now. Our identity isn't in what we, hitting circles with sticks.
Yeah. And
All
for
right.
how many people
Yeah.
at whatever conference or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. So that leads me into the last thing I want to ask you, and you somewhat touched on this earlier, but I want to go a little bit deeper. We have about like 10 minutes. Here in this town, there's a lot of good drummers. There's a lot of good everything,
Everything.
right? There's
Yeah.
there's guitar players that can play drums better than I do.
That, dude, I feel that way.
Isn't that
too.
crazy?
It's crazy.
So how, especially with your story, how has comparison played a part in your life, in your career, in everything that you do, and how have you handled the comparison when it comes to comparing yourself to another incredibly talented musician?
Dang.
Because we all struggle,
Yeah.
if we haven't, we will struggle with comparison because there's so many talented people, not only in Nashville, but, at your local church or at, the bar scene that you're trying to get into, or, an audition you're trying to land. Like, there's so many talented musicians. And it's really easy for us to compare ourselves to those musicians. How do you get past that? How do you work through that? And not let it just eat at you?
Yeah. It's a great question, man. Well, like, how do you get past it? How do you not like worry about it? I think you always will. It's like it's kind of always going to be there.
Yeah.
Like the thing in the corner that's like staring at you. You have to just learn how to deal with it. Maybe someone can get like free of it, and God bless you. I hope that for myself, but not my story thus far. I was, when you asked me that, I had this thought of like, where does comparison, what emotion does comparison bring up? Right? Like we have our core emotions, not just like it's anger, it's sadness, it's happy, like core like what does it bring up in me and in us?
Yeah.
When I'm comparing myself to Austin Davis, like what am I like? For me, it brings like anger that I'm not like him, or sadness that no one likes me because I'm not like people want him, they don't want me. So what is that for me? What does that show? Oh, I want to be loved
And accepted.
Okay, that's what I want. Well, I'm already those things. I believe I have, and life challenges the crap out of that. But like, I believe I have to believe that everything I do, everything we do, is formed out of if we believe we are loved by God or we're not. Everything. Like what it actually, I was talking about down the way here. He said that he's 67. He's just like, I'm actually starting to believe that God is actually like a good father. Like 67 years old.
Wow.
That's freaking
Wow.
insane. That shows how hard this is.
Yeah.
So that's not everyone's story. But for me, like it comes from this, like, I want to be accepted and loved by this group of people. Like I want to feel like I'm hot stuff. So like this group of people over here and that person, whatever. That's what comparison does to me. So then happened today. I saw a video of myself playing on an album I just played on. And I was like, I don't like how I sit. I don't like how I stand. Like, I don't like my, and I mean, to be honest, it's true. That wasn't pretty. It wasn't. But that's what I do.
Yeah.
It's how, I mean, it's refinement needs to be in there, but like, that's how I play and that's how I express. And it's not Austin. It's hilarious. Austin has said this to me. It's just like, because I keep thinking I need to be like him or whatever. He's like, man, people hire me because they want me, but they hire you because they want you. Because like, they don't want me.
Wow.
They want Daniel.
Yeah.
People call me to ask me about you.
Wow.
I'm like, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, so there's a okay, what emotions coming up in the comparison? Let's work on that. That's like our thing to do. That's like the deep work I think that a lot of us have to do. Like, why am I not content with who I am and what I'm doing and how I'm expressing and what emotions I'm bringing up, and let's work on that. And then I'm pretty doggone good at what I do, even though I'm in progress and in process like we all are. I'm just, this is who I am. This is what I do. And like, maybe people will jive with it. Maybe people won't. It took a long time for people to jive with what I did and what I brought. A long time. To me, it felt like a long time because I joined this band. I do this thing and it's not, they're like, we like you a lot. It's not the style we're looking for. So then I take that and go, okay, it brings up, you don't like me.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It shouldn't make sense, but
and then
that's
you start
what
spiraling and all these scenarios in your head.
That's what I did. So every time I played at a church and every time I played at our church, my wife and I's church, or I would play with this artist, I was just like, is it okay? Because I just held this thing so close. And it's taken a long time and still creeps in.
Yeah.
Because I want to be good at what I do. I want to be growing. I want to be better. And there's room for that, and that does happen. Like some of the crews I play with now, they're very vocal of like, you're doing this really well. Let's work on this. Like, everyone's doing that together. But like, man, so-and-so hired me and wants me around for me and what I bring.
Yeah.
And that's enough.
Yeah.
And I still have work to do. So I don't know if the demon ever goes away. For me, I don't know if it ever will. I really don't. But like, I have to be honest with the emotion. I'm reminded of that. Reminded of the emotion that comes up within me. And then I also have to be like, I'm like, look at what's happened. The evidence of me being at least decent at my job.
Yeah.
Is here. So I have to celebrate that and be content in that.
Yeah.
And then there's no scarcity, right? There really is enough gigs for everybody.
That's especially after COVID. Everyone left Nashville.
Like, it's true. It's true. It's sad, but it's very true.
Yeah.
There's enough for everybody.
Yeah.
So if you can't say yes to this gig, does not mean you won't get another. Or maybe it does, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Like, be content with where you're at. And that's how I've tried. Again, sometimes it works out really well, and other times it's like, well, that was, could have done that better.
Yeah.
But
well, dude, I think that was the perfect answer. Maybe not exactly what people wanted to hear, because I think people would want to hear, comparison goes away, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
But you just have to learn how to live with it and not let it just eat at you and not dwell in it and let it affect. Yeah, not let it affect you and consume you to the point where you start kind of self-sabotaging yourself.
Absolutely. I've seen those players.
Yeah.
I've been out on the road.
People.
Talented.
And everyone has their demons, and everyone deals with a lot of their own battles, but a lot of similar things that other people deal with as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that some listeners here will have gone through or will go through, because we've gone through it, and we'll continue to go through it. But dude, that's about all the time we have for today. But bro, thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Thanks for having me.
I feel like it wasn't enough time, so I'll definitely have you back. And by then, there's no telling what you would have done. You know, next time we talk and hang.
God knows.
But
Thanks for having me, dog.
yeah, dude. I love
Appreciate you.
bro.
You as well.
Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.